by film.
Five,
Stand by music.
Four,
Stand by announce.
3, 2, 1.
And fade up.
It's the Bellagio, the Mirage, and the MGM Grand.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Mike Wazowski.
Open your eyes.
Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me!
King Kong ain't got on me!
What about second breakfast?
Why not? Why can't I? How can we be expected to teach children to learn how to read if they can't even fit inside the building?
Welcome everyone to the latest episode of 20 Years, 4 Beers. Coming to you live on tape from balmy Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Have a heat wave.
That's right. March, and it feels like April here. So yes, we're good to go.
I'll take it.
My name is Steve, and this is my big brother,
Tim.
And thanks for tuning in to 20/4. 20 Years, 4 Beers is a podcast dedicated to rewatching popular movies from 2 decades ago while enjoying a minimum of 4 modern beers. Our episode this week, we circle back to one that we were going to do last fall. And
a multi-month tease.
That's right. We are heading back into, I guess, 2001's Memento.
Yes.
Although IMDb does say
right?
It was 2000, but its release date was June of 2001, and it was at the Oscars of 2002. So we pushed Memento from last fall to this spring. So this episode we are covering Memento.
We shouldn't be surprised that a movie all about playing with time is somehow off the whacker back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. So we are actually just going to hop right into our first segment, which we call Drinking Buddies.
Come on, not my fucking beer.
This segment is As It Sounds, where Tim takes us through our 4 beers, or our drinking buddies, that accompany us through the film. Tim, who are our drinking buddies for Memento?
For our first beer tonight, the theme beer of the episode, we are having Lupulin Brewing out of Big Lake, Minnesota. Their Blissful Ignorance, which if you think about from a memory standpoint...
It's our theme beer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, all that good stuff. So double IPA with Citra, Mosaic, and Columbus hops. Then we have, from Minneapolis, Fulton Brewing, their flagship Sweet Child of Vine IPA, yet it has been aged in Jameson casks with cherry and orange zest, so they're calling it their old-fashioned Sweet Child of Vine.
Very curious about this one.
Me too, I'm very excited. Then we go across the river to Brewing Project out of Wisconsin. Their Jwagavapul Puff Tart Sour Ale with milk sugar, dragon fruit, pineapple, and guava, and vanilla. So that's the dragon guava pineapple Jwagavapul.
That reminds me of the old Navy commercial of Chris Mahana Kwanzaa.
Totally does. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're just gonna mash this all together.
We're just gonna throw it all together.
Enjoy it. And then the big bad one at the end, we have Dangerous Man, Minneapolis Brewing Company. They're double fudge maple stout, barrel aged, and in bourbon barrels. So I've been wanting this for a while. It's bottle 254, special release, baby.
Okay.
Yeah, I went their day of. Yep,
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if.
So those are our drinking buddies.
We'll have to find 255 and see if it was better or worse. Well, I think actually we might have some people who have not seen the movie that we.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That picked up the mic.
We got it good. Who have not seen Memento. So a very brief synopsis is Memento chronicles 2 separate stories of Leonard, an ex-insurance investigator who now suffers from short-term memory loss, as he attempts to find his wife's murderer. One storyline moves forward in time, while the other tells the story backwards. More of the story is revealed with each jump between forwards and back, and it is a mind screw of a movie. I guess that's about what I got on it, because anything else would kind of ruin it if people hadn't seen it.
Yes.
Now, in the end, it won't matter because we'll still talk about stuff. But
Yes.
go, like I would say, if you are interested, stop it and watch it, or stop this and watch it.
Yes.
Or find a way to watch it,
Please
and then
do.
come back. It is terrific. So, do you have any initial memories of this?
I remember this might be the first time that we've had an episode or movie so far that you and I saw together.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing it Southdale and driving back with like just nonstop talking about this movie.
Yeah.
On the freeway, just like, oh my God, and this, and oh my God, and this, and oh my God. And it was like nothing, at least I remember, it was like nothing I had ever seen in terms of the black and white from a memory standpoint, and then the color going forward, and the dual narratives crossing and coming back, and then having this like reveal at the end. I just was floored as a first time movie experience, as far as it totally stands out to me.
I guess mine is not necessarily as formative in that sense, but I recall the same stuff and being blown away by it. What was intriguing to me is for the number of times I rewatch films that I loved and enjoyed and all this other stuff. This is probably going to be my first viewing in minimum 15 years.
Totally agree.
And so it is kind of weird of just how it is. This memory is so good, and I'll be very curious how my initial rating that I had on like IMDb when I was rating my movies and stuff was 9 out of 10. I was like, oh my gosh, blown away.
So amazing.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see how that holds up.
Yes.
Speaking of thinking back on that, that brings us to our next segment, which we call The Social Network.
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
Which is our look back at the reviews or reactions from the time, both good and possibly bad. Tim is going to take us through our social network. What do we got?
Speaking of IMDb, the rating is 8.4 out of 10.
Oh, nice.
Overall, really positive reviews from critics, and calling out that it was a tour de force movie that kind of brought Christopher Nolan onto the scene. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone, director Nolan stages scenes of dizzying suspense that resonate with raw emotion, and the reverse action isn't a trick. It's a way to put the audience inside Leonard's head, the main character. Mark Kara of Chicago Tribune said the film is a thriller for people who are sick of thrillers, a puzzle movie in which the puzzle is actually worth the time and effort to solve. And as always, our big man, Roger Ebert, 3 out of 4 stars, saying Memento, in which Guy Pearce, the lead actor, doggedly plays a low-rent fugitive who patiently makes maps, jots notes, and explains over and over that he has to talk fast because in a few minutes he'll start forgetting the conversation. It's a diabolical and absorbing experience. I like that one. I was
Diabolical.
like, yeah. Academy Awards that year was nominated for 2. For Best Film Editing, no surprise with keeping those narratives straight. And right off the bat, first movie, Best Original Screenplay by Christopher Nolan. Interesting tidbit. I'm not sure if this messes up any trivia you have, but it's based upon his brother's short story, but it was Best Original Screenplay because the short story was not released until 2002. So this came out before, but it was based on something yet to be published. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
It seems like it was meant to be from a timing standpoint.
Yes, exactly.
Like, I know they didn't do it on purpose, but he was like, come on.
Yeah.
Really? Now you're going to release the short story that this movie was based on, but you're going to release it after? So yeah.
Yeah, so the screenplay's there. Anyway, so those are the ones that stood up for Social Network. I'm so stoked, man. I can't wait.
I'm ready. I'm ready. This is good. I'm excited. This is kind of our first non-big budget, film or tentpole film and that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of curious to see how
I
this.
hope it holds up.
Yeah,
man.
I really hope it holds up. So we don't have a Fast and the Furious style.
God, if
just
that
crap
can't,
on
that
it
can't
fest.
be that.
No
No way.
So if you can stop and watch it with us. We've got directed by Christopher Nolan, written by Christopher and Jonathan Nolan, starring Guy Pearce, Carrie Ann Moss, and Joe Pantoliano.
Nice word.
I have to slow it down. This is Memento.
You don't have a clue, do you? You don't even know who you are.
Yes, I do. I don't have amnesia. I remember everything right up until the incident. I am Leonard Shelby. I am from San Francisco.
That's who you were. You do not know who you are. What you've become since the incident. You wander around playing detective. You don't even know how long ago it was.
Well, welcome back to 20 Years, 4 Beers. We have just finished rewatching a really... It's nice to know that it held up in terms of the mind screw that this movie is. A really great movie in Memento.
Yes.
So many places we could start. What we will say is we'll just start with, we're going to jump right into High Fidelity, and which is our top 5
side ones, track ones,
takeaways from rewatching this movie. So Tim, I'm going to let you start.
And I feel like there's a bit of a caveat we haven't provided before of like potential spoilers. Like most movies before like are pretty well known.
Yeah.
But this is a pretty like niche film that seriously, if you didn't watch it, watch it. There might be some spoilers here. Yeah, well, really quick, it totally held up.
Yeah.
Totally, absolutely held up. The first thing I thought watching it right away was, forgot that the use of Polaroids.
Yeah.
What a compelling and interesting narrative. Certainly it's 2001. I mean, we take it for granted now with like the how prevalent digital photography is and everything. But at the time, using Polaroids as a quick snapshot, writing on them, but the opening scene of having the Polaroid go like undevelop.
Yeah.
And what that does to set up this movie.
Yep.
I mean, it's this cool like foreboding score to start with of just kind of like a little bit of like a orchestral, but then it's like he flaps a little bit and it's like, oh, okay, now we're going to be playing with time.
Mm-hmm.
As you think it's developing, nope, it's actually undeveloping. And then it goes back in time and then boom, and it splits in this narrative of black and white and color. I forgot that was the opening shot of this movie and
it's the only one that actually does go backwards.
Yes.
Yep.
And everything goes forward. I just was struck right away of thinking, oh my God, that's right. This is the backwards Polaroid. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that was right away out the gate was such a great setting point for the narrative of the like new audience of like, here is to be playing with time. So
did you notice too that all of the sound effects are all regular?
Yeah.
But then when Teddy yells no,
it sounds like on.
He says it bad. It's the only word that's backwards.
Yeah.
In the entire movie. So in a movie that has front and backwards, the only one is right at the beginning of the movie. And it's on. As opposed to, it's really well done.
Yes.
It's a good point.
Oh man, that was cool.
Where to begin?
Right?
I appreciate, I think one of the things we appreciate, or I think when we were younger, what we didn't appreciate in watching it is the craft that goes into making a movie like this.
Yes.
The editing is just astonishing.
Yes.
I don't know how, I'll come back to the writing later, but I don't know how you can edit this in such a way that it is coherent in the loosest way of talking about coherence, because you do have to puzzle it through. And for a movie that we've both seen multiple times, we're still like trying to process it. So it's coherent, but it isn't.
Yes.
But how you can even come remotely close to telling that story, it's a testament to the editing for sure. It's like these series of cliffhangers.
Yes.
Every scene ends, and so that the next time you hit it, you can remember that's your mark. And so you just end up going back to that same mark. And so it pieces together, but now afterwards you have to sort of like work it back. But the fact that the editing is able to get you there in such a way that makes you towards the end desire to want to know more.
Yes.
It's the editing stood out to me. A lot of things stood out to me. The editing was the first thing I wrote down. So like Leonard, I'm just going to kind of go with what I wrote down. Because beyond that, if I keep going, I'm screwed if I keep going. Because I'm just going to go with what I wrote down.
To the listener, it's a bit of a scattershot experience. And that was something
Watch
I
the
wrote.
Movie. Right.
Yeah. One of the reviews talked about this putting us in Leonard's shoes. And for the narrative device, my second thing was experiencing that again in terms of I knew what had happened, like high points, but forgot much of it. But the whole thing about the the main character, having this short-term memory issue. That yes, the cliffhangers are things that happened in the past, and yet drive the narrative forward.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this weird, discombobulating experience. Again, watching it of like, this would be so insane. Of like, like these 5 to maybe 10-minute windows, if that, of things happening where there was points of humor, points of suspense, drama, tragedy, all these things coming together. That was really such a compelling experience because there was no way to like really ground yourself. It just was all over the place. And so that was the thing that I appreciated thinking through that review. The second thing I talked about was, yeah, it definitely from a emotional standpoint puts you in that experience of what Leonard must be like, of just, okay, here's a new experience for 5-10 minutes and then we're moving on. So it was really well done.
Yeah, I think tying off of that, for me, one of the things that stood out to me was by the time you think you know what's going on, it's like, nope. And just like, in that sense, like Leonard, and that kind of stuff, but even just as a viewer, you sort of are like, very early on that this is something unique and new and something in a way that it hasn't been told. And you're like, I always love movies like this because you go, I'm going to figure it out first.
Yep.
And I'm going to try and beat the filmmakers at their own game. Yep. And every time you think you got it, it's like, no, I don't think so. So when Natalie uses him for her own gain all of a sudden, and you sort of assume she's his victim, and, and then when the reversal on Teddy and his character and what you understand on him, every time you just sort of go back and forth, and then in the end you understand who Leonard really is. And so every time you think you know the story, it just completely comes, nope.
Yeah, that third thing for me was that Natalie was such a great example of like the classical like femme fatale of what's introduced initially.
French.
Exactly.
You.
Oui. What's introduced as far as this really compelling emotional connection, and then as it gets unpacked and you see her true motivations, and it's like, oh my god, this is really incredible. Similar to Teddy, the character that dies right away at the beginning, and you're like, what the heck? And then it unpacks all the stuff of, oh, he seems like a really tragic character, like, why would you kill this guy? And then, oh yeah, it's unpacking all these things of, oh, you son of a, like, what they do, yes, from a keeping things moving and changing things as it goes along is a rarity in terms of most movies I can remember seeing over the last 20 years, of just having it unpack from what initially is presented to then the true motivations that Carrie-Anne Moss is just, I forgot how freaking talented she is. She was so good in this, and portraying that quick scene where she leaves after having had an altercation with Leonard and comes back in from that really intense scene and thinking, I can manipulate this guy. Just sits in the car.
Yep. And just stares at him.
Yep. Waiting for his memory to go away.
Yep. Yeah.
And walks in and just turns on a dime to show, oh man, she was so good.
Yep.
So good. Yes.
Never trust a woman is what I hear you saying.
That was not clear. So no.
They will use you and spit you out.
You will be destroyed.
I think the next point I had, man, about the writing, how the F do you not only come up with this, but keep it straight?
Yeah.
In the writing standpoint.
Totally.
It's not what's to me, what separates it from a writing standpoint is not what the hook of the story or so there's a lot of movies like The Sixth Sense, for example, that once the reveal happens or once the sort of shtick is revealed, and watching it again, you kind of, it's still good, but it doesn't quite hold up.
Yeah.
But then this movie, it's not just about the front and back story. It's also really well written. The lines are good. The little bits of information along the way. I loved there's a couple throwaway lines at one point early on. Leonard says the present is trivia. I used to think he said trivial, but it's actually trivia. And then towards the end, he just says, we all need mirrors to remind ourselves of who we are.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what?
Yes.
Where did this come from? And yet, nothing is, and so often you watch a movie and a line will hit and there's like a pause after, like whoever wrote it and they made the movie, like, here's the line that's going to be in the trailer.
Yep.
And in this, there's none of that. It's the story, and it's written so well.
Yeah, the idea that, you could have it be these throwaway lines that come in and have this impact is, really, really incredible. I agree. I remember watching and be like, how did you come up with this and keep it straight? And
which is a common theme for a lot of Nolan films. I mean,
yes.
You can talk about it with a lot of anything to do with Nolan, from Inception to Dunkirk, I guess, to most recently Tenet.
Yes.
How you could possibly do that.
Yes.
So whatever drug he's on, I think I want it.
Yes.
But yeah, it's very impressive how they can keep it straight at all.
The number 4th item for me was, I love that a staple of Nolan's movies are the unreliable narrator, that they're going to throw you in the middle of a mix. Like most of his movies are really not a
narrator or protagonist, even, you mean?
Yeah,
or
protagonist.
Right.
Like, we're going to have you, like, your main entrance into this world is unreliable.
Right.
So, like Inception, heck, even Tenet, even the Batman movies, where it's good play with time, but this is tragic figure, or Insomnia, where you're behind this character that is flawed and just you can't quite get a grasp of things. And this movie truly throws you right in the middle of it from a narrative standpoint. And that is such a great device that he uses so often, of just, I feel like he's one of the few writer-directors, whatever it is, that treats the audience somewhat to a fault with, I would say, Tenet, of thinking the audience is, I demand you're an adult and you pay attention.
Yeah.
I'm asking for 2 hours of your time and figure it out. And so I love that he's just like, I'm not going to dumb it down and you're just going to have to freaking sink or swim. And this was such a great foray into that narrative structure he always uses of like, yep, it's going to be crazy, but figure it out as you go along. And this was one of the best examples of his unreliable narrator protagonist stories.
I feel this is not one of my points necessarily, but I also think his wife, I wonder, like, how many times does a man have to write about a main character with a dead wife to sort of say, like,
exactly,
what are you trying to tell me here,
and then
hon?
Thomas is like, so Chris,
everybody's gotta have a dead wife, huh? Cool.
Yes.
Thanks, good to know.
Yes.
I have a question, actually, and it's literally, I suppose, working this out, and I didn't want to do this after we watched it, but the mementos that he had of his wife,
yes,
the teddy bear in the book and the brush and that kind of stuff. At one point, he burns them.
Yes.
Did they reveal why he burned them?
No.
Right, and so I'm wondering, were those his, and you'll have to pardon me because I have been watching Lost, and so this comes up a lot, were those his constant? Was that his way? Because in the black and white, up until, like, the black and white, he reveals a lot of information without having to look at his notes necessarily.
Yeah.
And that would be like his repetition, right? Like those are the things that he's able to remember because his conditioning has happened. And then was that his sort of like understanding? Was that him giving up? Like at the end, I think he burns those pictures and you sort of assume that's him giving up. But I actually would put that on. He was holding on to these mementos of his wife and burning them. And that was sort of his understanding that I'm now leaving this behind and becoming this new character and this new person that is the crux of the story.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, is it... I guess I took it through the lens of his grieving process of these are these fleeting moments he can have with his memories, like these connections with his wife. And does that, knowing what we know at the end where he has actually gotten vengeance but cannot move on from that, is this his subtle way of trying to remove himself from this cause of, I need to do away with it? And so it's like, how many times has he done that where he's burned these
other
mementos?
things of hers? Yeah, but even then, I don't know, where is he hiding this stuff? Like, to me, I felt like that was a bag that he had of just a few things that were left over.
That's
Unpack it, man.
That's way deeper than I expected.
Yeah, 20 years from now when we watch this again,
yes,
on 40 years, 12 beers, well, by then, you know, we'll be able to handle it. I know, and 20 years from now, we'll be like, screw it, just have as much as we want. But I think that there's something behind that, and we don't have enough time to unpack it here. But
that's really good.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
Damn right.
All right, fifth thing for me was, what a really cool structure or device of having the tattoos on his body. Yeah. Just got to call out, like, the really cool, from a writing thought standpoint of how would this guy keep track of these details, and okay, I'm going to start tattooing myself, and like having it be reverse in the mirror or all these other things like on his body, that he would be able to just keep track of this. And it just always remember at the time being like, that's really, really cool. And such a great experience again of seeing it, where you would do like, okay, fact one. And then so as you lose track of these things and you snap back into the next memory, he starts like pulling back his sleeve and thinking, oh, what's fact one? Like, he does it in a way that would even intrigue himself. Of, oh, what's this? And like this and this, like, oh, fact five, fact, like, so yeah, I think that was such a really cool way of having this character stay grounded in a really, really crazy, repetitious way.
The tattoos are a way that he can't undo. It's like, these are the things that are going to keep me going.
Yes,
it's a really good device to keep.
Yeah, it's like a defense mechanism for himself of like, this is going to be the thing that will still ground me.
Yeah, there are a lot of layers to this.
Yes.
My last thing was really just a question of how long do you think it's been since his wife actually died?
Again, this movie's all about relative.
I understand, but they found
time. Like,
Teddy claims at the end that they found the killer over a year ago.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean, you know. Then there's a memory of them, he and his wife being together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Initially, I thought it's been a long time, but now I think maybe this is the event that's happening immediately after like her actual death. Right, like, she's now dead, and this has been, because if it happened a year ago and they still kept going, then she would have, like, that was the purpose for him, and that was keeping her going, but now it's not, so maybe she's only dead a week?
Yeah.
And that was sort of the catalyst into this, and so just a little bit later, he's burning her items and that kind of stuff, and just sort of this understanding. Like, this is actually very, very recent after her actual death, and that was what the catalyst was.
He's got to be in the hotel because of...
Didn't have a house anymore. Yeah.
Ooh. I just love the fact that we have no
idea.
Like, there's no way to answer, but it's so... Oh, man.
Right.
That's good.
Well, all right. I'm sure we could rant for quite a while longer.
Or rave.
Yes. Rant would suggest a bad thing.
Yes.
Rave. But we're going to move on. So we actually are going to jump into our beer reaction segment, which is Drinking Buddies, the sequel.
Come on, not my fucking beer.
Tim is actually going to bring up our beers, and we will discuss them. We've had 4 pretty good options tonight again.
They have been quite fantastic. So, much like the film, really interesting. Off the wall,
very first
combos.
One. Oh man, this is great!
So
I can't wait! I love it.
So the first one was from Lupulins, their Blissful Ignorance Double IPA.
Yeah.
I would say this is the best double IPA in the cities.
Well, that's a stretch, but okay. All right, continue.
You shut your It is so solid and fantastic that every time I'm at the store, I'm like, yep, I should get this back in. 4.75 for me. It's just a
Speaking
fantastic...
of blissfully ignorant.
Oh, you shut up. Sorry, that's really harsh. I'm really
no,
happy
whatever.
to enjoy this.
Harsh it up.
Yeah.
First, we can just love the fact, unplanned, neither of us
our
seen this
theme
forever,
beer.
And just, it was one of those where you go, like, if nothing else happens in this podcast, we had the moment of realizing that blissfully ignorant is in this movie.
You're just blissfully ignorant, aren't you?
And it was just glorious.
We
It was
paused
great.
and we're like,
oh my god, blissfully ignorant. So this is one of those beers. I remember when we found this beer, and I remember texting you being like, oh, we've been waiting for beers like this. I think it's gone downhill since they got bigger, because they had to make it in bigger batches and stuff like that. It's a very good beer. I have a 4.25. It's good. It's a good double. I definitely wouldn't put it as the best double. The one thing I will say is, I like it as a double in that you would never know it's a double IPA.
True.
So
Yes.
it's got a nice sweetness to it. It's not overly bitter or hoppy or anything like that. It's got a great smooth flavor. So it's a good beer, but I would not maybe go to a 4.75. But then again, as we all know, that's pretty rare for me.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Next.
Then we had Fulton's Sweet Child of the Vine IPA, their old-fashioned version of it, aged in Jameson casks with cherry and orange zest. I'm going to let you go first.
Oh, man, you put me on a ledge. Speaking of 4.75, I'm going to throw this down as a 4.75.
It's a 5 for me.
Oh, my gosh.
For the style of what it is,
yeah.
There's nothing else like this.
No, I agree. And well, hey, I can't. It's a 0.25 more than what I did.
Yes.
4.75 is as high as I'll go with a couple exceptions, so I agree. Yeah.
It was unreal.
Yeah.
Having this, tasting like an old-fashioned.
Not just an old-fashioned, a really good old-fashioned.
Yes.
Like
I was like, what? Like we actually took a first sip and looked, we were like, whoa.
Hello. You're like, hello, old friend.
Yes.
It was outstanding. It is. I don't love Jameson necessarily, and so you don't taste the Jameson in the barrel age of that. And but you don't also taste the orange or cherry as in like a fakey way.
No.
Like where they added the flavor after the fact. We'll get to this in the next beer. There's no like sediment and there's no anything like that. There's nothing in there that it's just a really good beer. So a 4.75. This might be my only 4.75 that ever happens on this, because that's exceptionally rare for me. So
it was
a 5 for you is pretty rare.
It's very rare as far as like.
Does Matt listen to us? I mean, are we?
I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not a spotted cow.
Not a spotted cow.
So I mean, let's be fair. But
this was such a. I mean the reputation of this, as we saw online, of how people loved it, and I was like, it can't be that. No, it is damn good.
Yeah, I heard many people say it's the best beer they ever had, which is always pretty aggressive. You know, because
it's a far stretch from a beer.
Yeah,
like
it's not that, but it's outstanding.
It's so good. And then we switched it up, had a sour, so from Drecker. Sorry, not Drecker. Sorry. Then we had a sour, the Brewing Project.
I'm keeping that in, man.
Dragavapo Puff Tart.
Yeah. Say it again. Like, really, what is it? Like
it's Dragavapple.
So dragon fruit, guava, apple?
Guava, apple.
Vanilla, maybe?
And then vanilla is added to it, and milk sugar. Yes.
So creative.
Yes, so the dragon fruit, guava, pineapple, vanilla, puff tart, sour.
What part of that leaves all this shit in the bottom of my beer?
That's a beer that I feel like they should have you store it upside down.
Yeah. Is it guava, apple,
Probably all of it. But
throw an SH at the end?
Yeah.
Tired of this.
I had it as a 4.25
yeah.
for me. I think it sounds weird, but what really did it was the pineapple. Like, that truly came through. I really felt like I've had dragon fruit, like guava, like lactose, like, but man, the pineapple.
I'll be damned if that pineapple wasn't the reason for the.
I've had other sours. I had so many. Like, this was like I've like options of like 6 different, and they're variations of this theme. None of them have pineapple like this. It was damn good. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was quite nice. It was enjoyable. Yes.
Yeah, I had a 3.75. It wasn't a wow to me.
Yeah.
It smelled like Trix.
It was a bit.
It had a weird
like
smell
candy.
to it. Like
yeah,
I smelled it. I was like, this is like a bowl of Trix in front of me here, and the sediment showed that apparently there was a bowl of tricks in front of me. And I don't mind that so much sometimes when it's meant to be that way.
Yeah.
There was not much to me. For me, it was fine. There was nothing about it that was like a wow factor. So it's 3.75. There was nothing about it.
I poured half for me and then half for you. And by that...
Oh, was I the second half?
I was like, oh, and so I put it back to mine.
Sure.
Like, I'm like,
Sure.
I was like, oh, it's getting a bit cloudy.
Okay.
Let's get you back in mine.
Cloudy.
So, sediment. And then we had Dangerous Man's Double Fudge Maple Stout, aged in bourbon barrels. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I was between a 4.25 and a 4.5. It's very good. I probably would end up rating this as a 4.25. The fact that it's Dangerous Man and I'm always kind of a hit or miss on them maybe bumps it a little more, like a reward for making a really good beer. It's one of those where it's a lot, but it's not. It wasn't thick. It wasn't viscous. It wasn't anything like that. It was a really well done beer. So I'll probably end up throwing it in at a 4.25, but I'm right in between there.
Yeah, I had a 4.25 as well, and I think what impressed me was their one of their flagships are either the peanut butter stouts or like the fudge that they have, like the chocolate, like, and they would say like mix them together, and like those tend to be really like sweet and kind of cloying.
Yeah.
But this double fudge, I was worried it'd be really like fudge heavy of like chocolatey, but no, the maple, the stout, like, and the bourbon wasn't overwhelming of like, oh, it's just really like bourbony. Like, yeah, it was a good mix of everything. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, so. especially for you. You've been waiting for this one for a while.
Yes.
Like, it did have a good reward on that one.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yes. Worked. It paid off. So it's good.
All right. So we are we'll just keep rolling here. Well, this is Hot Shots and Hot Shots Part 2.
You're American. Yes, from America.
Where Tim and I offer up a hot take that may or may not have been there 2 decades ago. I'll admit I've struggled with hot takes in the last few episodes where I'm like, I don't know, how do you have a hot take on Ocean's 11?
Yeah, exactly.
I have one, so
yeah.
But do you have one that you're passionate about?
I don't know if I'd say passionate about, but I just think about so for me watching this, and full disclosure, I think Christopher Nolan is truly the only director, irrespective of a pandemic, that I will line up opening night to see a movie. Like Spielberg, Fincher, any of the, like that kind of class, like I will maybe get around to it kind of a thing. For me, he is the only one that I will show up the weekend of to see his movies. And so thinking through what that means for his catalog, this is probably like the best film that I can think of as far as that kind of caliber of director entering into the scene. I mean, you think about like Fincher, Alien 3. Spielberg, like Sugarland Express, like then he had Jaws. But this came out of nowhere and established right away that this was a presence and a force to be reckoned with. And I think watching it again, not only did it hold up, for me, it was probably like again, recency bias, one of the best versions of a like first film that any director could have right away. Like, I think this was from a genesis for a new director.
Yeah,
hit out of the freaking park.
Yeah, Nolan is, if nothing else, Nolan has been similar to, if we want to tie it into beers, like the best breweries. Even if you don't like that style of beer, you're going to be like, oh, this is a well-crafted beer.
Yeah.
So we could talk about Tenet and talk about how much we like or dislike it, but you're never going to talk to me about, you're never going to convince me that it's not a well-crafted version of this. So I agree. From the beginning, he's always been top-notch.
Couldn't believe it.
Initially, I had this was a top 5. I actually think this is the third most ridiculous Oscar loss in the history of the Oscars.
Ooh.
Obviously, the year that we generally don't speak of is Saving Private Ryan losing Best Picture. Second to that, arguably, is Brokeback Mountain losing Best Picture.
Yes.
To Crash.
Wow. I don't know.
I just think that you can add that. I really like Gosford Park.
Sure.
But are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Gosford Park beats this movie for Best Original Screenplay.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes.
You want to talk to me about originality?
Yes.
there's only a few other screenplays from an originality standpoint that you could even come anywhere. Like, being John Malkovich would be high up on that list.
True.
Of just originality.
Yes.
Yeah, there's... Original to me is two different things, right? There's unique and there's original. And this original is just like, oh, I came up with this out of nowhere.
Yeah. But
to me, that's Gosford Park. Like, I came up with this. It's an interesting, very well done movie. And then there's the additional on top of that of unique.
Yes.
And you look back at this year and you're like, I'm sorry. God bless Gosford Park and it's a wonderful film. But this is, to me, how you can not only keep a relatively coherent story through the whole thing.
Yes.
But then you keep talking about it. You talked about earlier, we left the theater and you keep talking about it. And you're unpacking everybody. And you're talking about it.
Yes.
You don't do that with a movie like Gosford Park.
No.
So to me, my take is just, this is, if not top 5, this is like third beyond those other two of just like, I can't wrap my head around how you pick
that one versus
right.
this?
How you pick another film over that.
Ooh, I like that. It's a good hot take. I like it.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm validated now, so that's good.
You done well.
Now I'm good. I can die. All right. So our final segment for the show is, again, one that both Tim and I have fun with. So hopefully you do as well. This is Quiz Show.
The exciting quiz program 21,
where we search for fun, quirky, or even difficult trivia nuggets throughout our research for the film and attempt to stump each other. I think Tim's going to actually get me on a couple of these tonight, so I know he has a few, so I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, I'll say my worst one for the last.
You're so proud of yourself.
That's
fine.
I had a rare chance.
I'm sure you'll stump me.
So the title Memento, as may not be too surprising, is Latin. What does memento translate to in English?
I don't know. You're a dick.
Remember.
There you go. Good for
right
you.
There, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Even try memory.
Freaking Latin. I don't know. I could have, if I really unpacked it, I could have. Either way, I would have been wrong. I would not have come up with.
But what a great thing of remember.
Remember.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. He's got to remember.
Early on, like one of the first scenes, Joe Pantoliano says, it's the Italian. I don't know what it is. I can't do it. I can't say it.
No,
yeah, Pantoliano.
Joe P.
Joey P. He says,
you don't have a clue, you freak.
Like right at the beginning, he's like, he's got his gun. He's like,
Yep.
you don't know what I. He's like, you don't have a clue, you freak.
Yeah.
That's actually not him. The you freak part of that.
What?
Is not his voice.
A voiceover?
Yes. Do you have a guess of who that would be?
Probably Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
He's probably recording.
He was unhappy with the way it sounded, and so that you freak part is Christopher Nolan's Joe Pantoliano impression because he was unhappy with it, so he did it. I was listening for it at the beginning, and I was like, "This is a British guy, really doing a good job." Apparently, the American accent is super easy. Apparently, the Brits can do Joe Pantoliano saying "you freak" in while a gun to his head. But yeah, that's Christopher Nolan at the beginning.
Is it from Forgetting Sarah Marshall? You sound like you're from London.
You're from London.
I had no idea, but I could see him being I'm not happy with it.
Not to mention, he is notoriously anal.
A stickler.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's a nice way to put it.
Yes.
All right, what do you got?
So director Christopher Nolan wrote the film script based upon a short story, as we mentioned, by his younger brother Jonathan Nolan. The two of them went on to co-write 4 other films together: The Prestige, Dark Knight Rises, and Interstellar.
Prestige, another dead wife.
Yes, right? Yes.
Sorry, anyway, continue.
Yes, exactly.
I hijacked
Watch
it.
out for his movies.
Hijack.
Christopher Nolan comes calling for a casting call.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Hey, ladies.
Yeah, nope, I'm out.
I'm dead. Yep.
I'm out. I'm already dead.
Yet, Jonathan Nolan, his younger brother, is also responsible for writing and creating 2 very successful television programs. Can you name those 2 shows?
I should be able to because I think I've watched them both.
We literally talked about one tonight.
I know. Oh, alcohol does affect your memory.
The guy from Lost.
Yeah.
Jim Caviezel.
I know. Yeah, he did Person of Interest.
Person of Interest!
That's right. Have you heard of that show?
Have you heard of it?
And then, was it the Leftovers? Was he in that one?
No, that's Lindelof.
That's Lindelof.
From Lost. Yep.
Oh yeah, Westworld.
Westworld.
That's right.
Yes.
God.
Again, the mind effing
yeah.
of these brothers are just like, we're just gonna keep you on your toes
I'm
all the
curious
time.
who's older and who's younger.
He's younger. Jonathan. Nolan.
Jonathan's older.
Jonathan is younger.
Oh yeah, because
they grew up in England,
and
I
can speak from personal experience. Usually, the younger is the more screwed up of the two.
Apparently, like Jonathan's like, I got these ideas, and Christopher's like, I'm gonna make it crazy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna throw it in the blender.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make $1 billion.
Yeah. So yeah, person of interest in Westworld.
Messed up, man.
Not too shabby.
There are 2 hidden references to Nolan's life in the film. Ooh. What are they?
I noticed at the end, Emma is the tattoo part.
Emma's tattoos.
Emma Thomas is his wife.
Yep.
Okay, so that's one.
Emma's tattoos is one.
The bar?
This is so obscure. Yeah. At one point, there's a white Honda Civic next to the Jaguar, and that's Nolan's car at the time. Car? That's his actual car. They're outside of the hotel, and it's his white Honda Civic.
He showed up for work.
Yeah. He's a big dude, too, by the way. He's like just in this little like clown car of a Honda Civic. He's like, hello, everybody.
Like Wally Fuzz or whatever. It's like, it's like DP's like, the car's are like,
whatever.
Leave it in.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to ask this one, and you can fully cut it because...
Whatever.
This is my jerk move one.
Yay! I can't wait.
So, while the atmospheric score was written by David Julian, who partnered with Nolan on 2 of his other films, Insomnia and The Prestige, until he met Hans Zimmer and they had a career together. Yeah. The film's official soundtrack also includes songs from Thievery Corporation, Moby, David Bowie, and Radiohead. Mm-hmm. So, since Radiohead is my favorite band of all time, and I know you hate them.
Yeah, proof that nobody's perfect.
So I have to acknowledge this is, again, a bit of a jerk move on my part. Radiohead, their original name of the band is not that. They went under a different name from 1985 until 91 when they released their first single, Creep. Can you name Radiohead the original name of that band?
I'm gonna guess I'd rather have a seizure.
I'd say, what terrible thing you're gonna say. Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't know. What is it?
On a Friday.
Oh, wow.
Because they would practice.
I don't love Radiohead, but I'll be
Friday.
darned. That's a way better name than
right?
On a Friday.
On a Friday is a terrible name.
Yeah, it shows how creative they really are.
Actually, their name is from a Talking Heads song. So
look,
yeah,
I fully recognize their talent. I just don't love them as much as you do. So
well, as a friend said, they crap creativity. So
sure,
yes.
So 555-0134 is Teddy's phone number. It's been used in one other film that took place that was about a year and a half before this film. You want to take a guess?
The Matrix?
No, it would be great if it was. It is Marla Singer's phone number from Fight Club.
Shut up.
555-0134.
It's a deep cut.
She writes her phone number. Yep.
Man, I like that. That's really good trivia.
There you go.
I like that. All right, so Memento is the first film that we've watched so far which has been entered into the National Film Registry for being deemed by the U.S. Library of Congress as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. At the time of this recording in 2021, only one other film from 2001 has also been entered into this registry. Can you name the other film?
Amelie.
It is the next mini podcast.
Oh, really?
Shrek. Huh? What a teaser, huh? Wouldn't that be great if actually Amelie deserves that? But how crazy is it? 2001, at this point, two decades later, only Memento and Shrek.
Yeah, there's other documentaries and stuff that are in there, but only those are the...
But only from 2001.
Huh? Shrek.
So, teaser.
Well, that's it. That's our... I think that's it, right?
Oh, I love this movie. Oh, God.
Yeah, any final, like...
I'm so happy it held up.
I agree.
Like, we watched it, so, for those listening, like, my wife watched it with us. So we were like, hey, and she was like, what's going on? Even that, and we were both, Steve and I were like, yeah, we saw this before multiple times, and we're still like, what is happening? It's so good. So
At the end, I think
good.
her words were, I don't think I like that.
I don't like it. Yeah. She's like, okay, have a good night.
She's not going to listen anyway. So
no, exactly.
No,
so good.
My final thought was, I think last week with the, or last episode with the Ocean's 11, you're like, can we just appreciate a good heist film?
Yes.
I echo that in. Can we just appreciate a film that makes your head hurt?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
absolutely.
not always. Sometimes it's great to just be like, somebody took the time and didn't just throw it together, didn't just make a movie to make money or anything like that. They just put a movie together that just makes you say, man, WTF, and I can't work.
Yes.
And it doesn't tell you the story of what they think you have to believe out of this. It leaves it open.
Yep. What happens after this? What happened before it? How long before his wife died? Like, all these questions can happen. They're unanswered in the movie, and they'll never be answered. No.
I really appreciate that when it's done well.
Yes.
So that brings us to the end. Our next full episode, we'll be talking about 2001's really masterpiece of a film of Monsters, Inc. We are 20 Years 4 Beers. We want to say thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And follow us on Twitter at years_beers, or on Facebook, or head to 20years4beers.com. This has been 20 Years 4 Beers. My name is Steve.
I'm Tim.
And thanks for listening.
Thanks.
What's the one that...
the Human Torch was denied a bank loan.